Good morning, everybody. We're going to continue our story in the Gospel of Mark today. Last week we heard about Jesus calling the disciples, and remember, they were quick to respond. We're in Mark chapter 1, verse 29, if you want to find it at home. It's on page 256 of your Spark Story Bible if you want to read it as a family later. What we're going to find is after Jesus calls the disciples, after a short period of time, Jesus, James, and John decide to go to Simon and Andrew's house, and they find that Simon's mother-in-law is sick, and Jesus goes in, and she's sick with a fever and in bed, and he takes her hand and raises her up. So let's listen. We see that story about a hand. Let's listen for other helping hands in the story. So Jesus finds Simon's mother-in-law, and he takes her hand and raises her up, and immediately she's well, and she goes out and serves Jesus and the disciples. And then from there, Jesus goes out and heals and blesses people who are sick for the rest of the day. Early the next morning, when it's still dark, Jesus leaves to go to a quiet place where he can pray. But the disciples, anxious to get back to work in Capernaum, come and find him while he's praying and say, hey, we need to go back and get to work here. And Jesus says, no, we need to go over here so that I can preach more. So think about let's all stand up now. What were some of the ways that we saw helping hands in the story? So the first one, you can do this with me, is we saw Jesus take Simon's mother-in-law's hands and heal her. So think about when people are sad. That's one thing we can do. If they're sad and sick, we can hold their hand. That's a helpful hand. Then Jesus went out and healed people. Think about the ways that we can bless and heal people with our hands and our prayers. Another way that Jesus had helpful hands was he went out and prayed, so we can try our prayer hands. And then at the end of the story, Jesus might have used his hands to point the disciples in another direction. Another way we can be helpful is to point out to people, to lead people where God might be at work in their life or where God might be sending them. So those are some of the ways that we can have blessing hands. We can hold someone's hands when they're sick and sad. We can serve. And also these hands are serving hands and receiving help hands. So think about that. So we can hold someone's hands, we can serve and receive help, we can pray, and we can point other people to where God is at work, and we can bless people. So think about all the ways that you can be a helping hand this week. And we're going to end in a prayer that's adapted from St. Teresa of Avila. And it says this, so you can stand up here with me and practice the prayer with our helping hands and repeat after me. Christ has no hands on earth but ours. Our hands hold someone's when they're sick and sad. Our hands help and receive help. Our hands point and lead others to Jesus. Our hands heal and bless. And then let's all say together, Amen. All right, thank you. See you next week.